Today is September 1st, 2021. My name is Rob Carr of Kalamazoo Right to Life, and this is Pro-Life Week. Well, if you're a pro-lifer living in the state of Texas, the sun is shining brightly today. If you're a pro-abortion zealot, ideologue, activist, the sky is falling if you live in Texas. The reason is, as of midnight, which according to my watch was exactly 12 hours ago, at midnight, a pro-life law took effect, a fetal heartbeat law. The law states that if a fetal heartbeat can be detected, then an abortion cannot be performed. So we're looking at banning abortions basically after the 6th week of pregnancy. And it is true that a lot of women don't even realize they're pregnant for the first 6 weeks. So this law really changes the paradigm on abortion policy in the state of Texas. And several pro-choice people, pro-abortion people were trying to get a federal judge, even the Supreme Court, to step in and block enforcement of this law. And as of last night, the U.S. Supreme Court said nothing. They did not act one way or the other. So the law took effect. And it is, even I would admit, it's a very radical, wonderfully pro-life law that bans abortions after 6 weeks. What's also interesting and creative about this law is that it permits average citizens, even citizens who do not even live in Texas, from suing doctors who they believe have violated the law and have performed a procedure after 6 weeks. And if the doctor is found guilty of performing an abortion after that fetal heartbeat can be detected, the doctor can be fined $10,000 for each procedure. So this is a very expansive law in Texas, and I think for the most part, pretty much every Texas abortion clinic has closed its doors. So in the state of Texas, abortion is effectively been removed and eliminated, and that's a wonderful thing. Now here's another thought. I heard people talking on TV this morning about this case, and one person said that, if the Supreme Court were to overturn Roe v. Wade, then the red states, the conservative Republican-led states, would ban abortions outright, and in the blue liberal states, progressive states, democratic states, abortions would remain legal. So if you live in Nebraska, let's say, you may have to travel to Illinois to get an abortion. Well, that is a possibility. But let me just read to you a quote from Justice Blackmun, who wrote the Roe v. Wade opinion. And he said, "We need not resolve the difficult question of when life begins. When those trained in the respective disciplines of medicine, philosophy, and theology are unable to arrive at any consensus, the judiciary, at this point in the development of man's knowledge, is not in a position to speculate as to the answer." Unquote. So let's unpack that statement and see if that comment by Justice Blackmun leaves open the possibility that a Supreme Court may overturn Roe in ways that the pro-choice people don't expect. So right now the conventional wisdom is, if Roe's overturned, the issue is sent back to the states, and each state then can enact legislation based on whoever is in the majority party in that state legislature. So if you live in New York or Massachusetts or California or Washington or Oregon, you're going to have a law that's going to permit abortion, perhaps all the way through 9 months. But if you live in Oklahoma and Texas and perhaps Alabama or Mississippi or Kansas, so more of a conservative state, West Virginia, that abortions may be completely banned other than for the physical life of the mother. Well, Justice Blackmun said, first of all, he makes this comment about disciplines of medicine, philosophy, and theology can't come to a decision or an agreement on when does life begin. Well, I've always said, what does theology and philosophy have to do with medical science? I mean, science should be able to determine when human life begins. It's not a theological issue. It's not a philosophical issue because those two disciplines are more subjective. But at least in theory, medicine is supposed to be an objective science by research and by experiments and by testing. So then, if theology and philosophy are no longer valid excuses, then we have to fall back on medicine, on science, on technology, on modern research. So Justice Blackmun says, back in 1973, if these other disciplines, medicine, philosophy, and theology, can't come to any kind of a consensus, the courts, the judiciary, at this point in the development of man's knowledge, is not in a position to speculate. Okay, throwing out philosophy and theology, let's look at medicine, let's look at science. If science in 2021 has a much better understanding of fetal development, of human life, based on modern scientific, medical, and technological advancements, if we know more in 2021 than we did in 1973 when Roe v. Wade was decided, then maybe the court could say that medicine has come to a consensus on when human life begins. And the judiciary may say, because the science is conclusive, the courts are going to abide by the decisions, the research, the technology on fetal development, and the judiciary is going to say, yes, the science is clear. The science confirms the humanity of the unborn child from the moment of conception, based on DNA, fetal surgeries, ultrasounds, all those things that we take for granted today that did not exist back in 1973. So even pro-abortion Justice Blackmun may have accidentally swerved into a scenario in which the court in 2021 may say that, no, we're going to overturn Roe v. Wade in such a way that any law in the nation that permits abortion is unconstitutional. You think back to Roe v. Wade. The case came out of Texas. The Texas law was from the late 1850s. But when the Supreme Court decided in Roe v. Wade, their decision just didn't affect the constitutionality of the Texas law. It affected all laws in all 50 states. Every single law, even the liberal ones like New York's, was deemed unconstitutional because it did not go far enough. Well, here we are now. It's possible the Supreme Court may say Roe v. Wade is gone and states don't have the authority to implement pro-choice laws because the Supreme Court is recognizing that science has determined that fetal life exists from the moment of conception, and we are not in a position to challenge the scientific fact of human life. So this is a great day in Texas, and it's a great day for pro-lifers all over the country. In October or November, the court's going to hear a case out of Mississippi, the 15-week ban. So a lot of things are happening, a lot of good developments are happening, and who knows, this case from Texas may eventually end up with the Supreme Court, and we just don't know how things are going to develop. But what looms on the horizon is positive news. With that, I'll let you go. See you next time.